Hello, beautiful people. So, I'm starting a YouTube channel. I have been inspired by one of my longtime good friends. Her name is Mandy. She has her own YouTube channel, Makeup Mandy. So, if you're into makeup or anything like that, check out her channel. I will post a link in the comments, or if I can figure out this video editing thing, I'll post a link somewhere. Okay, so I'm inspired to do a YouTube channel. So welcome to my channel. And what my channel is I love to cook and I love to drink wine. So I get most of my recipes from Pinterest. So I'm going to be testing different Pinterest recipes and things like that. And I'm also going to be testing different wines and things like that. So any suggestions on wines would be great. I will try them and I will pass or fail the wine, whether I like it or not. And I will also be passing or failing Pinterest recipes based on difficulty, easy to make, or taste, like whether it turned out how the recipe said, whatnot, things like that. So this is my channel, and without further ado, I'm going to start my recipe and wine tasting for today. So the recipe that I'm going to be making tonight is going to be Doritos crusted chicken tenders. So the recipe calls for a couple of different things. So the first thing, it says to cut the chicken into 1/2-inch pieces. I actually went to the store and I found pieces that are already cut, so that is great. And it says to soak the chicken in 2 cups of buttermilk for 2 hours. So let's start that. So buttermilk, I'm going to put 2 cups into my little mixing bowl here. I have this measuring cup. It goes from 1 to 2 cups. So I'm just going to pour 2 cups in this and we will get started. Alright. So this is the pack of chicken that I got. I got Perdue. You can get whatever chicken you want. You can even cut it yourself. It doesn't matter. But cutting out half the work, I got the already cut chicken. So I'm going to put this in here and let it marinate for 2 hours like the recipe says. Also, one thing I have noticed, one thing I've noticed with Pinterest recipes is that you really need to read the recipe before you actually do it, because sometimes the recipe calls for like a lot of prep time or a lot of cooking time that you didn't originally anticipate. So read the recipe all the way through and see how much time you will need to do it and plan accordingly. Just a little tip and trick for Pinterest cooking. Alright, so I am putting these pre-cut chickens in the buttermilk marinade, like it says. Kind of breaking it up, and then I'm going to need a fork to stir it all in and make sure that every piece is covered in the buttermilk. Thank you. I have my lovely cooking assistant that does not want to be on camera today, but that's okay. Alright, so stirring the chicken all around in the buttermilk to make sure that every piece is fully covered and soaked. Oh no! It is okay. Cooking tends to be a little bit messy, so make sure your space is clean before you start. Alright, so we are all covered and mixed, so I am going to put it in the fridge and let it sit for 2 hours. You want to cover it? Nah. Alright, so while we wait for that, I have the wine in the freezer to chill because I got it from the store. So, the wine I'm going to be sampling today was actually a suggestion. The brand is First Press, and it is the Red Delicious flavor. I'm really excited to try this because I love wine. Also, FYI, my wine and recipes have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I'm not that fancy to like, oh, this is the perfect wine to pair with this, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't get that fancy. I just love wine and I love to cook. So, 2-in-1 here, if I can actually get it open. So, let's start this process. It's one of these. It's kind of like a champagne bottle. Ooh, fancy. All right. All right, so let's see if I can actually open this. When you need me. I'm having technical difficulties, so I'm going to ask my lovely assistant to open the wine for me.
Probably can't even get it either.
Yay! Ooh, it makes a nice popping sound like champagne. All right. So we're going to pour the wine. I like to pour my wine glasses like really high. I'm not that classy, so I just pour it almost. All right, so let's taste test this. Ooh, I really like it. It's sweet. I tend to like the sweeter wines. It's very sweet. And it does have like an appley aftertaste to it. So it's wine tasting like apples. I love it. So I am going to pass this wine already. I don't need any further tasting because I love it. All right, so I'm going to drink this and wait for 2 hours while our chicken marinates, and then we will continue with our recipe. So 2 hours and 1 glass of wine later, we are ready to start the rest of the process. Okay, another thing that I've noticed about Pinterest recipes is when you click on it, there's like a huge blog or like click on this link to see full recipe. So I like to follow all those links and screenshot the ingredients and then the instructions, so I can just go through my photos later instead of having to re-scroll and find that all again. So, again, we are doing Doritos crusted chicken, and this recipe calls for the chicken breasts that were cut, which have been marinating for 2 hours, and then 1 large bag of Doritos. You can do whatever Doritos flavors that you like. I'm going to be testing 2 different ones, the sweet and spicy chili because I'm feeling a little spicy, and your classic nacho cheese Doritos. And then 2 cups of flour and 4 eggs. And what you do is you mix them all together. So I have my 4 eggs here. Whisk them like you're making scrambled eggs, because you're going to make an egg wash to dredge all the chicken through, is what the recipe says. And then Doritos, it says to use a food processor, but I don't have a food processor, so what I'm working with is a bag and a bowl just to crush it all together. So just crush it up as finely as you can, because the recipe says to make it like breadcrumbs, kind of like shake and bake chicken, only you're crushing up your own Doritos. works pretty well, actually. Ideally, you would like to have a rolling pin or something like that, but I don't have a rolling pin, so you gotta do the best of what you got, right? Alright, so this is the sweet, spicy chili flavor. I'm gonna pour it into the bowl that's already done here. Alright, so you have your sweet spicy chili and your regular nacho cheese Doritos. And then you have your 2 cups of flour here. The recipe also says you can put in a little bit of cayenne pepper in the flour if you want. And then our egg wash. And the chicken that has been sitting for 2 hours. And the baking pan, of course. Oh, and it says to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. There we go. Alright, so we take a chicken. Dredge it through the flour. Make sure that every part of it is covered. So I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to half the sweet chili Doritos and half the regular nacho cheese Doritos. And then you put it through the egg wash. Again, make sure that all of it is completely soaked. And then dredge it through the Doritos. This is the nacho cheese flavor. Make sure all of it is covered. And then we put it on our baking pan. And then just repeat until all the layers are covered. Your little chicken pieces. So this is the sweet chili nacho Doritos. Okay, so now that we have prepared the chicken through the flour, eggs, and Doritos, this half is the nacho cheese, and this half is the sweet chili. So I put aluminum foil over this just for easy cleanup, and it kind of just helps cook in general, I feel like. So the recipe says to preheat the oven, which is already done, to 400 degrees and to cook for 15 to 20 minutes. Again, I like to screenshot everything. That way you don't have to go back and scroll through like this giant blog post before the actual recipe and instructions. So we are putting this in here for 15 to 20 minutes. Also as a side, we are having tater tots, or potato puffs, actually. Of course, I can't get this open. Once again, having technical difficulties. Okay. So we're just gonna pour half. Just kind of spread it around evenly on the pan. Once again, I put foil on this as well for easy cleanup. So we're going to put this in with the chicken, and we are going to check on it in 15 to 20 minutes to see how everything is coming along. So it has been about 20 minutes, so let's check and see how everything is going. So our chicken is still not completely all the way through, and our tater tots are not quite golden brown as they should be. So we're going to give it about 5 to 10 more minutes and then check in again. Another thing I've noticed with these Pinterest recipes is depending on what kind of oven you have, etc., it doesn't always take as much time as the recipe says. A lot of times it takes more than that. So that's why you just cook it for as long as the recipe says and then check it and adjust accordingly. So normally if it's not cooked like the recipe says it should, giving the time allotted, I like to add 5 to 10 more minutes and then check it again to see how we're doing. Alright, so it has been an extra 5 to 10 minutes. So let's see how everything is coming along. Ooh, everything looks good. So I'm going to take this out. So the tater tots look nice and crispy. And the chicken looks nice and crispy as well. Going to check the middle of it just to make sure everything is nice and cooked before I turn the oven off. Yes, everything looks to be nice and crispy, cooked all the way through, no pink at all. So we're going to turn our oven off. And we will come back in a couple minutes after all of this has cooled to do the taste test. Alright, so everything is cooled out of the oven. So here is the ultimate taste test. So I'm going to put each of the different flavors, the nacho cheese, regular Doritos, and the sweet chili Doritos. And some of the tater tots that we cooked. Just out of the bag tater tots, but they still good. And then put some dipping sauces, ketchup for the tots. Kind of arrange it all Master Chef like over here, you know. And some ranch for the chicken. I'm really excited to try this. I've seen this recipe several times, and I just wanted to try it. So, you know, all fancy dipping like Master Chef over here. Alright, so let's try these chicken crusted Doritos. Dip it in the ranch. It's pretty good. So this is actually pretty good. It's not as good as I would expect. There's not a whole lot of flavor in it. It just mostly tastes like baked chicken. I thought I would taste the Dorito flavor a lot more. But overall, it is good. But as the recipe stated, I'm not quite sure if it was quite up to par. So it's kind of like 50-50. But ultimately, I'm going to give this recipe a fail because it did not quite live up to my expectations. However, the wine that I was drinking, again, the brand is First Press, and it is the Red Delicious. I'm giving that a pass because it was super good, super sweet, and it had that appley aftertaste. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video and you can try this at home and make it yourself and see what you think.